But before answering these questions, I think the first and most important thing we should address is that being afraid of the coronavirus is wrong. We shouldn't be afraid, especially as Muslims. Just like Ali radiallahu anh says that if you are afraid of your enemy to begin with, your enemy has already defeated you. And from that, we can learn the lesson that from the first step, if we are afraid, we can be sure that most probably we will lose this battle. Hence, being afraid is not the right thing. And I guess this aspect of being afraid may hint to something more bigger or greater, something we can take a lesson from. Probably this is hinting and telling us that we most probably have attached ourselves to this world a little too much as Muslims. See, Allah and His Prophet ﷺ have always advised us to keep the world in our hands, not in our hearts. In our hands, so that whenever we need to leave it, we can. And all we take from it are those things that we need. And whenever we need, we leave it. But once we put it in our hearts, taking it out from our hearts becomes very difficult. Even though our aqidah, our belief is that nobody can run away from death, and we never know when we will die, where we will die, how we will die. And just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another place that the hypocrites would tell the mujahideen, the Muslimin, that الَّذِينَ قَالُوا لِإِخْوَانِهِمْ وَقَعَدُوا لَوْ أَطَاعُونَ مَا قُتِلُوا. They used to tell the Muslimin that sit with us at homes, don't go for the war. And if you had sat with us and listened to us, maybe you wouldn't have died today, or maybe you wouldn't die on this day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies by saying, قُلْ فَذْرَؤُوا عَنْ أَنفُسِكُمُ الْمَوْتِ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, tell them that if you are speaking the truth, then avert death from yourselves, if it is possible. Meaning that it is very much possible that if once person goes for jihad, he might come back alive, and a person who sat home may die of some illness. So this is not something in my or your hands. So fearing death is not right. And we strongly believe ما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك وما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. As sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that whatever strikes you from calamity, it could never have missed you. And whatever misses you could never have struck you. By taking medications or precautionary measures like not shaking hands and maybe not going to the masjid, which we will talk about, wearing masks and things like this, does this negate or does it contradict trusting Allah or belief in Allah, or is it a sign of weak iman? Now, the answer to this question is number one, that obviously looking at the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nobody can argue that somebody trusts Allah more than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Nobody can say that he has more iman than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now let's see, did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam take means and mediums or precautionary measures himself or not? All of this can generically be put into one category, which we say akhdul asbab, meaning taking the means to reach an outcome, like using medication to cure an illness, using weapons to defeat your enemy, eating food to remove starvation, drinking water to remove thirst. So it is taking a means to reach a goal. We can put this all in one category, which we call akhdul asbab, using your means. Did the Prophet ﷺ use different means? In fact, there are so many evidences that we cannot quote them from the Quran and the Sunnah, where the Prophet ﷺ, when he would go to war, for example, he would take his shield, he would wear his armor, he would take his sword. He would not just go to the battlefield and say that I am going to fight my enemies. In fact, I am not going to fight my enemies. If Allah wants, He will defeat the enemies by Himself, and if Allah wants, He can take my life. I don't need weapons or anything. No, Rasulullah ﷺ never did that. Every time he would take his shield, his armor, and his weapons, his helmet. Rasulullah ﷺ ate food to remove his starvation. He would not say that Allah, if He wants, He will remove the starvation Himself. I trust Allah. No, that was not the case. Similarly with drinking water. Similarly with taking medication. In fact, there are many ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ told us, tadawaw, that use medication to cure your illnesses, because Allah has sent a cure for every illness. The one who knows of them, and the one who is ignorant of them is ignorant of them. So there are many ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ and Allah have ordered us to take the means to reach an end. Hence, from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we know that tawakkul is not contradictory to taking means to an end. Okay, those who believe that using means or precautionary measures is contradictory to tawakkul or belief in Allah probably have some misunderstanding about the definition of tawakkul, not anything else, because you can clearly see the evidences are stacked against these arguments. The second thing, which already from this hadith we would know, that it is fard and wajib. Allah and His Prophet have made it obligatory on us to take the means and mediums to reach an end, like using medication, preparing yourself for your enemy before you go to face the enemy, so on and so forth. So the second argument is it is fard on us to take the means to an end. Why is it fard on us? That comes to the third argument, that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this life for us as a test, to test us who will be obedient and who will be disobedient, who will follow those orders and follow those means that Allah has told us to reach a goal, and who will not. The ones who will take those means and follow the orders of Allah, their probability of succeeding or reaching their goal increases, and those who will not, their probability obviously of getting cured or reaching Jannah, whatever it may be, will drop. And that is basically what is in the case of medication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made these medications, made different cures, so that we may use them to see whether human beings will use them to reach their goal or not. The ones who will use them to cure their illnesses, they will be following Allah's orders, and hence their probability of getting cured will be higher as compared to those people who will not use them and will be disobeying Allah's orders. So this is very important. Hence, both of them are not contradictory, they go hand in hand. The tawakkul part is that in the end of the day, the final decision lies in the hands of Allah. This is what we believe. Even after using medication, there are still chances that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not cure somebody, and the ones who do not use medication, there are still chances that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may cure him for a wisdom or higher reason, which only Allah knows best and we do not know. But what we do believe is it with whatever decision Allah takes, it is always for the best.